Welcome, everyone. This is Friday, week 2, day 5 of Web Fundamentals. We are going to go over, we're still going to go over the concept of nested arrays. As you can see here, we have one right in front of us. But you may notice there is a JavaScript, HTML, and CSS that go together. So we're going to have to take these and stick them into their respective files. All right, you can call this one game. Oh, you just take this into an HTML file, call one game.css, one file game.css, place that in there, and then place the JavaScript in there. And I will show you what this should do. So go ahead and take the time to do that now while I pull this up. So just a minute.
And you said you wanted us to specifically name them the way they had them named, or can we do regular
Yes.
index?
Well, you can change it, but just be aware that the HTML has it called game.css. And
oh, okay, that's fine. Got it.
okay, and I'm pulling up here an example of what this should do. Okay. So here you see is what the HTML and CSS provide. Now for the JavaScript, this is what I want the end result to be. When you click, this is level 1. Okay, when you click on a button, it will add the sum of the area surrounding it, of all these squares surrounding it. So what's the value of this one? This one, this one, this one. So this grid is a nested array. Now it's just represented by HTML squares. So when I click on a button, the center one here, this should tell me what the sum is of all the index positions in the surrounding area. Okay, so that is the goal. Once you get to that point, you should be able to continue and make the Dojo Sweep, not the Dojo Sweeper, but the Minesweeper game. Does anyone remember Minesweeper, how it worked? Well, I didn't play it that much, and that's okay. All you need to understand for now is that when you click a button, I want the sum of the surrounding pieces. So how can I gather what these are here in relation to any button click on any place in the array? So what's the relationship of these surrounding blocks to this index position that I would have clicked in the center? Okay, I'm going to share the code a bit more before I break you guys out into groups. If I can delete here. All right, let me show you the code. 1 minute.
Hey, Josh, real quick, who's our exam taker?
James.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so here is the array that we're given. And we see a nested for loop here for I equals 0 and j equals 0. And when you click this button, you're adding to result, the string result, the index at I and the index at j. So what is the I index in this for loop? The I index is the rows, right? So this is index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. Once you enter a row, then the j index is the column. The j index is the column. So if you say I at 0, j at 0, what you're saying is this position here, right? So you need to write a function that receives I and j, that position. Okay, if I give you 0, 0, if I give you 0, 0, that means I want the values within the nested array within this square. Okay, if you have to imagine, if you pick an edge piece or a corner piece and you have something that accounts for these values here, these values would be undefined. Okay, so you have to make your logic account for when someone clicks on an edge piece or a corner piece. There's two ways to do this. There's either using if statements or for loops. You can loop through the square area, right? So let's say I pick this number 1 here. I can loop through this here, this row, and this row to gather all those pieces. You now have to just think of, how am I going to create a for loop that only runs around the area of the given input of I and j. So you have to think a little bit outside the box here. This is probably the most difficult algorithm we've given you yet. So enjoy the challenge. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, fantastic. I'll split you guys into groups.
Can we be in larger groups for today since it's a harder challenge?
Just because you said that, Ben? No, now you're going to be in your own group by yourself. Let's see. I created 8 algorithms. We'll see what that looks like. But I'll consider that. Yeah. And we do have to make Narciso's lecture, so maybe that is a good idea. I'll put at least 3 per room. How about that? Oh, did I accidentally? No, I don't want to touch James.
My JS scripts keep crashing. I think that thing is too long.
All right,
Maybe
welcome back, everyone.
the loop.
Welcome back. Let's did anyone finish the challenge?
We finished, but we didn't. We meaning me, Aaron, and Ben Gomez finished it, but we didn't do the bonus. Well, we're
Oh,
working
that's
on the
fine.
bonus.
Don't worry about the bonus. Would you guys mind sharing what your code is?
I think Aaron had a really clean version of it. Mark's worked as well though, right?
Yeah, Aaron can do it if he wants.
Aaron?
I don't know.
I think he had just stepped away for a second while we were wrapping up
Okay.
on the bonus things.
Let's
and
go to
then we got
Mark's.
pulled.
Let's go to Mark's.
I thought he had a hood on or something. It looks like he has a hood,
Okay.
like a real ninja. But let's see.
Oh, maybe he's just not responding. He's just staring coldly dead into the camera.
Yeah. So we have it set up to where you click on any square. Oh, I changed the board. My bad. I was doing the ninja part. Let me get rid of it. So it can be the regular board. Sorry. Yeah, so we changed it so that it displays the JSON sum when you click on the board. And do you want me to walk through how we did it, or?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So basically, we realized that for any given ij that you select, it comes down to counting I minus one, j minus one, which is this one, I minus one, j, which is this one, I plus one, j plus one, which is this one, I, j minus one. Don't count the one you're on, which is ij, and then I, j plus one, and then it says I plus one, j minus one, I plus one, j, and then I plus one, j plus one. So
Yeah.
they're basically just counting like that. So how we did it was we had our sum variable
Okay.
initialized to 0. And then we set our first for loop to loop over the rows that we needed. So we went from I minus 1 to I plus 1. And then for our columns, we went from j minus 1 to j plus 1. But we had to have some conditions because if you pick a corner piece, there is no I minus 1 and no j minus 1. So you have to take that into account as well. So if your row index is less than 0, which means you're off the dojo board to the left side, then that means we're going to reset it to 0. And remember, it's going to be incrementing, so it's not going to double count it. And then else if our row is greater or equal to the length of the board, which means it's off the board to the right side, then that means, or excuse me, we're talking about rows. So if we're trying to count something that's index -1 or less than that, we're going to
row
reset it to
equals
the
I minus 1.
And so then I don't know if he was muted, but then row greater or equal to the dojo length, that means we're going to be below the board, right? We're going to be, our row is too high, so we're going to end up breaking the inner loop and take us back to incrementing the rows. And then same thing for the column. If our column is to the left of the board, then we reset it to 0. And if it's to the right of the board, we want to break it because our sum is going from left to right and top down. So if we're too far to the right, we don't need to count anything else. We just need to break. And so once we do that, then if our conditions are satisfied, we just add up those indices, the dojo at that row and that column. And we end up getting our sum. But this line is saying we double counted the actual piece that we were on, the ij. So we want to make sure we take that off of the sum so that we didn't double count it because we didn't do that in the actual for loop. So then we return, and this is what Aaron was explaining about the inner HTML is basically how you interact with the actual button, the actual square. And so by setting the inner HTML to the sum, that's how we actually got the sums to show up on top of the squares with the inner HTML property. So that's how we did that. And so that was the first bonus. We're still working on 2 and 3, but yeah. You're muted, Josh.
Yep. Thank you. Nice. And so I really like how you guys figured out that you had to loop through that square, that 3x3 square, and that all those values would be possible if you simply loop through that block. So great job, guys. Did anyone do it any differently, even if it's slightly different? How we loop through that block or something in there, something different in the if statement? Anyone have a different method?
I think our group, we did it that it was like less than I plus 2, like the column length in the for loop.
Okay, let's see yours.
Okay. 1 second.
And okay, so here we are.
So like the only major change is this one, and even that's just minor, and everything else was pretty much the same, except we just did undefined.
Okay. So in this case, we didn't check to see if we were outside the nested for loop. We just looped through that area anyway and said if the value is undefined, if it's not equal to undefined, then add it to the sum. That's what's there on line 33. Okay, so there's a slightly different way of doing this.
May-1.
There's a slightly different way of doing this. There's also a way to do this using if statements. You just check every single index of those. What would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those 8 surrounding indexes, you can just check each one. And if any of those values is undefined, then you don't add it to the sum. If it is, if it's not undefined, then you can add it.
Sum equals sum plus dojo call.
Okay, so I will post this code online as well, so you can check it if you want to see the answer. You can see it on the GitHub. But now we have to close out this lecture session. We've gone on way too long because this one was a little extra challenging. Next week, I'll be coming up with algo challenges. It won't be on the Dojo platform. I'll be coming up with them myself. You won't see anywhere in the platform to see that. I will just have to share it via my screen and then also on Discord. So let's take a 10-minute break. And I'll start the timer, share my screen to do that. And then we'll be back for our Bootstrap lecture. Okay, so I'll see you guys in 10.